When installing non-metallic sheath cable, often referred to as Romex, from a panel, there are specific requirements and best practices to consider. NM cable can be installed in walls, ceilings, floors, and other concealed spaces. It must be protected from physical damage using approved methods such as conduit, electrical metallic tubing or EMT, or non-metallic raceways. In basements or crawl spaces, NM cable must be supported and secured on or above the joists or studs. However, there are exceptions to these rules. NM cable can be exposed in unfinished basements if the cable is not subject to physical damage. NM cable can also be exposed in attic spaces if the cable is secured to the framing members. Additionally, NM cable can be exposed within 10 feet of a panel board or switchboard if the cable is protected from moisture and mechanical damage. Considering a panel mounted on a basement wall, the NM cable coming out of the panel can be exposed within 10 feet, as long as it is protected from moisture and mechanical damage. Once the NM cable passes 10 feet away from the panel, it must be supported and secured on or above the joists or studs in the basement using approved methods such as cable staples or hangers. While not strictly required in all situations, it is generally a good practice to run NM cable in conduit or raceway in areas where it may be subjected to physical damage or moisture, such as in basements or near plumbing fixtures. Let's delve deeper into the requirements for NM cable installation. Firstly, the National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides detailed guidelines for the proper installation of NM cable to ensure safety and prevent electrical hazards. One key aspect is protection from physical damage. In areas where the cable is likely to be exposed to impacts, abrasion, or other forms of physical stress, it must be protected using conduit, EMT, or other approved raceways. This is particularly important in unfinished basements or crawl spaces where the cable may be vulnerable. Secondly, proper support and securement are essential. NM cable must be supported and secured at intervals specified by the NEC to prevent sagging, strain, and potential damage. This can be achieved using cable staples, hangers, or other approved methods. The support should be installed in a way that does not damage the cable insulation. Thirdly, consider the 10-foot rule. Within 10 feet of a panel board or switchboard, NM cable can be exposed, provided it is protected from moisture and mechanical damage. This allowance recognizes that the area immediately surrounding the panel is often less susceptible to physical damage than other parts of the building. However, it's still crucial to ensure that the cable is adequately protected from moisture and any potential impact. Now, let's examine some specific scenarios. In an unfinished basement, if the NM cable is run along the wall and is not exposed to physical damage, it may be permitted to be exposed. However, if the cable is run across the floor or in an area where it could be stepped on or otherwise damaged, it must be protected by conduit or raceway. In an attic space, NM cable must be secured to the framing members to prevent it from hanging loosely or being damaged. This is typically done by stapling the cable to the joists or rafters. When running NM cable near plumbing fixtures, extra caution is warranted. Moisture can damage the cable insulation and create a shock hazard. Therefore, it is best practice to run the cable in conduit or raceway in these areas to provide added protection. Furthermore, it's important to be aware of the ampacity of the NM cable. Ampacity refers to the maximum amount of current that a cable can safely carry. The ampacity of NM cable is determined by its size and insulation type. It's crucial to select the appropriate size cable for the intended load to prevent overheating and potential fire hazards. The NEC provides tables that list the ampacity of different types of NM cable. When installing NM cable, it's also important to follow proper grounding procedures. Grounding helps to protect against electrical shock by providing a path for fault current to flow back to the source. NM cable typically includes a grounding conductor that must be properly connected to the grounding system. Additionally, consider the voltage drop when running NM cable over long distances. Voltage drop occurs when the voltage at the end of the cable is lower than the voltage at the source. Excessive voltage drop can cause appliances and equipment to malfunction. To minimize voltage drop, it may be necessary to use a larger size cable. Now, let's discuss some best practices for NM cable installation. Firstly, always turn off the power before working with electrical wiring. This is the most important safety precaution to prevent electrical shock. Secondly, use the correct tools for the job. This includes wire strippers, cable cutters, and other specialized tools that are designed to work with electrical wiring. Thirdly, carefully inspect the NM cable for any damage before installation. If the cable is damaged, it should not be used. Fourthly, follow the NEC guidelines for bending radius. Bending NM cable too sharply can damage the insulation and reduce its ampacity. Fifthly, use approved connectors and fittings. These connectors and fittings are designed to provide a secure and reliable connection between the NM cable and other electrical components. Sixthly, properly label all circuits. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot problems in the future. Seventhly, consider using arc fault circuit interrupters, RFCIs. RFCIs are designed to detect and interrupt arc faults, which are a common cause of electrical fires. RFCIs are required by the NEC in many areas of the home. Eighthly, consider using ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. GFCIs are designed to detect and interrupt ground faults, which can cause electrical shock. GFCIs are required by the NEC in areas where there is a risk of moisture, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. Ninthly, when running NM cable through walls or ceilings, use a cable fish to avoid damaging the cable or the surrounding structure. Tenthly, when installing NM cable in a basement, consider using a vapor barrier to protect the cable from moisture. 11thly, when running NM cable in a crawl space, consider using rodent guards to protect the cable from rodents. 12thly, when installing NM cable near heating ducts or other heat sources, maintain a safe distance to prevent the cable from overheating. 13thly, when running NM cable near sharp edges or corners, use cable protectors to prevent the cable from being damaged. 14thly, when installing NM cable in a commercial or industrial setting, consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and regulations. 15thly, always obtain the necessary permits before starting any electrical work. Permits help to ensure that the work is done safely and according to code. 16thly, when in doubt, consult with a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's always best to seek professional help if you're not sure what you're doing. Let's recap the key points. NM cable can be installed in walls, ceilings, floors, and other concealed spaces. It must be protected from physical damage using approved methods such as conduit, EMT, or non-metallic raceways. In basement or crawl spaces, NM cable must be supported and secured on or above the joists or studs. Exceptions to these rules include unfinished basements, attic spaces, and within 10 feet of a panel board or switchboard, provided the cable is protected from moisture and mechanical damage. It is also important to support and secure NM cable properly, considering the ampacity of the cable, grounding procedures, and voltage drop. By following these guidelines and best practices, you can ensure that your NM cable installation is safe, reliable, and compliant with the NEC. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. Now, let's talk about some specific code references. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is the primary source of information for electrical installations. Article 334 covers non-metallic sheet cable types NM, NMC, and NMS. This article provides detailed requirements for the use, installation, and construction of NM cable. Some key sections within Article 334 include 334.10, Uses Permitted, which specifies where NM cable can be used. Section 334.12, Uses Not Permitted, outlines where NM cable cannot be used. Section 334.15, Exposed Work, details the requirements for installing NM cable in exposed locations. Section 334.17, through or parallel to framing members, addresses how to run NM cable through or parallel to wood framing. Section 334.30, securing and supporting, specifies the requirements for securing and supporting NM cable. In addition to Article 334, other articles in the NEC may also be relevant to NM cable installations. For example, Article 300, Wiring Methods, provides general requirements for all wiring methods, including NM cable. Article 310, Conductors for general wiring, covers the ampacity of conductors, including those used in NM cable. Article 250, Grounding and Bonding, addresses the requirements for grounding and bonding electrical systems, including those using NM cable. When working with electrical wiring, it's essential to have a copy of the latest edition of the NEC and to be familiar with the relevant articles and sections. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it's important to ensure that you're using the most current version. Now let's discuss some common mistakes to avoid when installing NM cable. One common mistake is using the wrong size cable. As mentioned earlier, it's crucial to select the appropriate size cable for the intended load to prevent overheating and potential fire hazards. Another common mistake is damaging the cable insulation. NM cable insulation can be easily damaged by sharp objects or excessive bending. Damaged insulation can create a shock hazard or cause a short circuit. Another common mistake is improper grounding. Improper grounding can leave electrical equipment vulnerable to damage and create a shock hazard. Another common mistake is not securing and supporting the cable properly. NM cable that is not properly secured and supported can sag, strain, and become damaged. Another common mistake is running NM cable in areas where it's not permitted. As mentioned earlier, NM cable is not permitted in certain locations, such as wet or hazardous locations. Another common mistake is not obtaining the necessary permits before starting any electrical work. Permits help to ensure that the work is done safely and according to code. By avoiding these common mistakes, you can ensure that your NM cable installation is safe, reliable, and compliant with the NEC. Finally, let's consider the importance of professional installation. While it may be tempting to save money by doing electrical work yourself, it's important to recognize the risks involved. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's always best to seek professional help if you're not sure what you're doing. A qualified electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience to safely and correctly install NM cable and other electrical wiring. They can also ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to safety, professional installation can also provide peace of mind. You can be confident that the work has been done correctly and that your electrical system is safe and reliable. When choosing an electrician, it's important to select someone who is licensed, insured, and experienced. You can also check online reviews and ask for references from friends or family. By hiring a qualified electrician, you can ensure that your NM cable installation is done right and that your electrical system is safe and reliable for years to come.